Welcome. Matt and Tex Show. That's not loud enough. I'm going to touch the mic real quick. Hold on. I am Matt.
I'm Tex.
And we are sharing a microphone. We usually have two. Each of us have our own individual mic. Unfortunately, my mic is broken, so we're sharing one, and we're really close.
I'm very nice. I like to share.
Gross. Today on the show, we got a lot to talk about, I guess. Last week, we discussed our top 6 favorite video games of all time. We did not get to mention our least favorite video game of all time.
Most hated.
Most hated. We'll try and... least favorite, most hated. We'll try and fit that in today. But more importantly, breaking news. It could be good. It could be bad. We'll talk about the future for Star Wars and the Lucas Arts or Lucasfilms or the Lucas...
Candy.
Yeah, no. The future of Lucasfilms and the Star Wars franchise. We'll discuss what's going on there. Today, though, is Halloween, and that's all I'll say about that.
Yep.
Right. Tomorrow, though, November 1st, is my brother's birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
So today on the show, I'll play one song that he doesn't know, but the rest of the time, I'll play some music that he likes. For now, that first song we played was Star Wars Duel of Fates by John Williams, one of the greatest composers of our time.
Mm-hmm.
I played that in honor of Star Wars or whatever. But now I'm going to play Bones by Michael Kiwanuka, guy I saw on Conan. Really like the style. It's sort of like an old 80s R&B sort of feel, Bill Withers. Anyways, I like it. We'll play that song, come back, we'll talk about Star Wars, yeah. Bones by Michael Kiwanuka. He's got a new album out called Home Again. Pick it up. I really like it. Next song, actually, we'll jump right to it. I got a request from my brother, whose birthday it is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Matt and I were crunching the numbers. We figured 27,
27 years old.
We had to carry the
2012 minus 1985 makes you 27.
Is that how you do it?
That's subtraction. Basic subtraction right there.
Dang it.
My birthday's actually coming up in a week from Friday. So we'll talk about my birthday on next show. But basically the whole family is November except my poor father, who's a May baby.
May.
Okay. This song, he requested it, is the Beetlejuice theme song, the main title. Tex, I asked him if he's seen Beetlejuice before we came back on the air, and he cringed.
It just sounds weird. I think I've seen a commercial or a poster for the movie, for the live action movie, and it just creeps me out. And just the word,
it's a little disturbing actually, kind of seeing some things where they kind of stretch their faces out in one part, and they got like weird long jaws and shaped heads.
Yeah,
it's a very strange concept. It's what's that guy's name? Burton.
Tim Burton. Oh, Tim Burton. I hate Tim Burton stuff.
And he did Edward Scissorhands as well.
Hate that too.
Did he do? I think he did. I hope I'm not lying about that. I'm pretty sure he did Beetlejuice. Anyways, if he didn't, I'm sorry. But this is the main title for Beetlejuice, requested by my brother.
And
Tex put that at the end. So
I did.
That was
Beetlejuice
main theme song.
Is that from the movie?
Danny Elfman. Yeah, that's the main sort of soundtrack score.
Danny Elfman, Dark Stuff, and what's his name? Johnny Depp. That usually makes up most of Tim Burton's movies.
Danny Elfman? Danny Elfman did Spider-Man's score as well.
I don't like Spider-Man either.
Okay. Anyways, whilst driving home yesterday from school, I received a text. I was at a stoplight, so I checked it out. It was from my mom, so I had to read it. Right? I almost punched someone when she sent me a text saying Disney had bought Lucasfilms. Now, Lucasfilms is a big company. It consists of Lucasfilms, which is all the Star Wars films, and some other stuff. I don't know exactly what other films they've done under Lucasfilms' name.
I don't think they do other films. I think they do sound, don't they?
Here we go. We're breaking it down. So Lucasfilms Limited. So, yeah. LucasArts, which does more of the video games, I think.
Yeah.
Animation. Industrial Light and Magic, which is a company they bought, but it does all the basic effects for a lot of films, not just Star Wars, which is where they started from, but they do a lot of, and they're kind of like the leading edge of special effects, and then Skywalker Sound, which is an audio thing.
I haven't heard about that one.
THX is also started by George Lucas.
Is it?
Yeah, because
that's the thing at the beginning that just goes, yeah, the thing that scared me as a kid.
Because actually, George Lucas's first film was called THX something something something, a couple numbers. It was a film he did in film school. So then he named it after that. Anyways, Disney, or the Walt Disney Company, as the company's name, bought Lucasfilms for just about $4.05 billion.
What does that mean? The .05?
So it's going to be $4 billion and $50 million, right?
50. Okay.
Does that make sense? So 4,05.
So if it was 4.15, that'd be 150 million.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to figure out how that worked. Okay.
Because that's base 10. That's going to be a base 10 number, right?
All right.
Okay.
So 4.5 billion. 4.05.
1.05.
It doesn't matter.
No, it's going to be, so if it was 1.5, it'd be
$4 billion.
Okay. Now, you're right. I'm not, okay, we'll go. Anyways. So Disney bought Lucasfilms $4.05 billion, which is, actually, when I heard that number, I thought that's pretty cheap, because there's a fact that I saw that said, since Star Wars came out, the feature film earned a total of $4.4 billion in box office. So just the films alone, not counting any of the video games, all the toys and all that crap, shirts and all that stuff. Just the films alone in box office have earned $4.4 billion. So that's more than what they were bought from by Lucasfilms. And actually, Disney bought Pixar Animation in 2006, right? Big animation thing, started with Toy Story and stuff, for $7 billion. So Pixar itself costs more than Lucasfilms, which is sort of offensive to me. Right? No?
I think that stems from a does that stem from a fan point from your eyes, or do you legitimately think that LucasArts as a company is better than Pixar?
That's a good question, because currently, like our sort of era, there was no real idea of animation, or there was, but it wasn't like a big thing. So Disney, I guess Disney wanted to just put the best software out there, because Pixar, it kind of revolutionized that sort of genre. But for Star Wars, it's been a company for 35 years now, 35 years, and it's sort of died down a bit. There's definitely, they're always doing something, but this whole Star Wars franchise hasn't made a movie in what, years?
Not them, but they've licensed like little,
right,
like the Clone Wars and cartoon stuff. But that all goes under the Star Wars brand and the rights to Star Wars. What I'm wondering is why did George Lucas why did he decide to sell it? Because before,
here's what I'm thinking. All right, yeah.
He's very adamant about, like, I have some quotes here. He basically, just at the beginning he says, when he was talking to Mark Hamill, that's Luke's name, right? Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill, yeah. That's Luke Skywalker.
He said, I want to do about 7, maybe 9 movies, and then he was quoted as saying, I have about 12 pages that comprise of each of the sequels, which 7 or 9.
Yeah, he has.
And written, so maybe I thought maybe he compressed them, or maybe he had different ideas. But after when the series was finally ending, episode 3 came out.
Right.
He started to become very adamant about, no one's going to make it. I'm not going to make any more movies. And people started asking, well, are other people going to make it? No one else is going to make it. There are no plans for that. And now he's quoted as saying, I'm handing it over to the next generation.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I was going to look this up, but I forgot to. George Lucas was the owner and the big boss at Lucasfilms, right?
Yeah, he owns it completely.
But now he's actually retired from Lucasfilms. He owns all the shares in stock, but there is a new president or CEO of Lucasfilms, some girl named Kennedy.
Well, did that come about as a result of this deal, or
no? She'll be, once this deal is done, she'll be officially president. But at this point, before this deal, she was called co-chairman of the company, because George Lucas was retiring. So yeah, I was thinking, well, maybe she then had the authority to sell it. And if maybe she convinced him to sell it, because he was officially the big wig, and now there was someone else trying to help him.
Maybe I just thought of this now. He has said he's always wanted to do other films, And so maybe this is just funding for that. Because I think he says he's...
Other than Star Wars? Other
yeah,
stories?
Other films.
Okay.
Different. He says he has a bunch of film ideas that he wants to do, and he doesn't want to be only Star Wars. Maybe he's just getting funding for that. I don't know. And that I wouldn't think is a bad thing.
Right. No, you're fine. I was just... Anyways. But no, definitely not a bad thing for him to create a new universe. It's probably going to be really hard because Star Wars is basically the
George
biggest
Lucas.
universe. Yeah. George Lucas is Star Wars. Star Wars is George Lucas. But what he was saying, actually, he's like, now that I'm kind of not the owner, the president, or the main guy, it'll be nice to kind of just be a fan of Star Wars instead of having to make it up the whole time.
He should try to be a fan.
Sit back and be a fan. Yeah.
Because he keeps screwing it up.
But no, he's had plans for episode 7, 8, and 9, and he's passed all those ideas over to Miss Kennedy, the new president of Lucasfilms, and she plans on releasing those. At this point, she said they're going to release episode 7 by 2015. There is no official story.
Was that her or was that Disney that's saying that?
Well,
because from what I've read, Lucas said that he had no plans or no story idea. He said the reason I'm not going to do this, one, he doesn't want to really, but he also has no story ideas for this. I
thought when I was watching this article or interview with Kennedy, the new president, George Lucas, and some other chick who never spoke. He was kind of saying, he was kind of giving like a big like, oh, I did want to hand this over to future generations. I think Disney's the perfect company to take over Lucasfilms. There's no real any other company that could really handle all this. And he's saying, I had ideas, or I have some ideas for 7, 8, 9. But I promised, or I told everyone I wasn't going to make these films. So now I kind of handed those over, those ideas, to Kennedy, and she's going to work on those, and I'm going to help her work those out. But I'm not going to be making the films.
So about he's going to remain on as a consultant, but let's.
And how much that means, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's just saying that, but how? I want to word this correctly. Let's leave Disney out of it for now.
Okay.
How's George Lucas done? How's he done with the Star Wars series other than the movies itself? I mean, he released new ones, and everybody pretty much agrees he keeps changing things. Han shot first, that stuff. He's changing all that. But what about like the Clone Wars movie,
right?
Or the games? He licenses these things to other companies, and in the new Star Wars animated cartoon, it just seems that Star Wars has kind of gone downhill, and George Lucas has let that happen. In my opinion.
And I was thinking that like maybe the Disney idea, it sort of scared me at first, but then I was thinking about this: if Disney is going to push it, or the new president is going to push out new films, I think that's something that Lucasfilms needs, because for the longest times we haven't had a Star Wars film since 2003. We haven't had really good content from Star Wars since 2003, and at this point, I think the first generation Star Wars fans from the 1970s and 80s want something more still. I think the middle generation, our generation, still wants stuff, but the young generation has their Clone Wars and stuff, and that's just not exciting to me. I want something a little more, and we haven't had that since 2003. But I was talking to someone else, and they said that, and I don't know where he got this information. I don't even know if I believe it. But he's saying George Lucas was just basically pissed because the episode 1, 2, and 3 said he was ridiculed by all his fans because they were terrible, quote unquote. Which I don't think so.
No, I've read that he was upset at being criticized.
If you don't like what I'm doing now, then why I'm not going to make any more films. And that's what he said. That's what I was talking to this guy about, and that's what he sort of mentioned. So I think he was never going to make films, and I mean maybe he actually does want to get these films out 7, 8, 9, just not under his control, or he's kind of just saying that because Disney's just gave him 4 point.
So do you think that factors into his decision? Maybe he doesn't like this ridicule, so he says, fine, you don't want me to do it, I won't do it, let them do it? That could be a part of this?
It could be a part of it. I don't know. That's it's weird what... But I don't know. I don't know what other ideas he'd have under his belt. But what else we got?
So now let's speculate about the films themselves. Just one word answer quick. Do you think these films are going to be good or bad?
Disney isn't in the business for making bad things, so I think it'll probably be good.
Are they not, though? I mean, look,
you're right. Well,
Cinderella 2 and 3 and Lion King 1.5.
Okay, yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
It seems they make good originals, but they make terrible sequels, and that's all they're adopting.
That's what
here.
Star Wars is. That's true. That's a good. I never really thought about it. And if you think about it, for Pixar, that's fine. For Pixar, Pixar made all their big films: Nemo, Toy Story, Toy Story 2, Cars, all before Disney bought them in 2006. Right? In 2006, they have Brave, that one Irish chick. That's the newest Pixar film that's out. I don't know how well that's done, but it's not very exciting for anyone.
I think it was subpar based on the Pixar standard.
They're working on Nemo 2, which isn't their original idea, so we'll see how they spin that. They've done Cars 3 now. There's a Cars 3.
There's not a Cars 3.
There's no Cars 3?
No, they've done 2, and 2 is awful.
There's got to be a Cars 3.
There isn't a Cars 3.
There's no Cars 3.
I know that.
I've never seen 2, so.
Neither have I.
Anyways, so they did Cars 2. They really haven't created a new franchise or story that is really exciting. But I don't really. I never thought about the idea that they really haven't done too well with sequels. I mean, Toy Story 1, 2, and 3
have
done really well.
And was that...
I think Toy Story
2, they collaborated with...
3 was 100% Disney.
Yeah, but 2, I remember reading that Toy Story was owned partly by Pixar and by Disney, and Disney wanted to push a straight sequel, and Pixar said, no, what you've given us is crap. So they took it, redid it up, and it became a really good movie.
But you saw number 3, right?
Yes, number 3 was also great. And was that Disney?
Number 3 came out when? A couple years ago, right?
2010? I don't know.
If it was, that's far beyond, because in 2006, Disney officially owned Pixar for $7 billion. So I believe 100% control of Pixar was under control of Disney. So at that point, Toy Story 3 was 100% Disney. Even if I don't know the exact story, but
so then my question is, and I tried to look this up, and I didn't have enough time to like go deep into it. Which projects were purely Pixar's, which might have been joint, and which ones were Disney? And I say that because with the new Finding Nemo movie, which Nemo does not need a sequel at all. I think it's ended there.
People love, and I love Nemo. I went to see that in 3D when that came out, and I love this idea, and I would love to see more of it. But it's the sequel question is very hard.
You have to be very careful when doing the sequel because it can taint and ruin the original.
Because I don't believe Finding Nemo, like for Star Wars, I think the sequel idea is fine because that was basically what his idea was. When he first started writing Star Wars, he wanted to create such a big universe that he can make all these films in it. For Finding Nemo, there's not that big of a universe to kind of spread off of. You're going to have to spin things. You're going to have to add things. You're kind of have to change maybe some of the characters, and that's going to be different. For Toy Story 3, it still wasn't that big of a universe. I guess it is because there's no real idea. There hasn't really been that much kind of a toy kind of character, so that you can kind of spin off that a bit. So Disney did that well, but for not Finding Nemo, we'll see how well that is. Creating things out of such a small universe or world. But for Star Wars, it's such a big world, I don't know. George Lucas had the ideas of there, and if he still has input to Disney, then it might be better than if Disney just did it himself, but I'm still worried. Yeah,
I think you run into real trouble when coming up with sequels, and I differentiate that by saying sequels usually are bad, but look at, for example, Harry Potter has had 8 movies, but there's always been a story that connected to. So they weren't just sequels out of the blue.
Right.
They were sequels because they were designed to be sequels, and Star Wars was the same way. And we can argue about 1, 2, and 3, were they bad, were they good, but they did have the general story, and Lucas already had that story down. Now, with these new movies, they're starting to say, from what I've read, is that Disney and Lucas just saying, we're going to abandon the expanded series, which is the comic books, the graphic novels and things like that, and the regular books, and we're going to go in a completely new direction. So, is it really Star Wars if you throw in a lightsaber? Is it really Star Wars if you throw in the Empire? Or is it Star Wars because it had Han, Leia, Luke, Darth Vader? What makes it Star Wars, and can they keep that in these new sequels that are supposed to be totally original?
That's because I don't really know where it's going to go, because 4, 5, and 6 had their own timeline. 1, 2, 3 basically had its own timeline. They're going to have to introduce new characters if they want to follow that same thing, where they kind of spin off the other characters, maybe Princess Leia's daughters or something, and or daughter and kids, or Han and Leia's kids or something. I don't. It's good. It's weird. Let me throw this in there. Direction. So directing, right? The first Star Wars film was directed by George Lucas himself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Empire Strikes Back, and let me get your verdict on that one. Did you like that one?
Well, I from watching it as a kid, I liked it, and then I remember talking to executive producer Trevor, and he said that one was actually one of the most boring ones. The only thing that people remembers is the Hoth battle, and that's exactly why I liked it.
And that's actually
And I excluded everything else, and it was great because of the Hoth battle. But looking back at it now, I think maybe it was pretty bad, except for the Hoth battle.
Okay, and so the story, I believe, was still a George Lucas story, but it was directed by a different man. Return of the Jedi, directed by a different man. Episode 1, 2, and 3 were all directed by George Lucas. So if you're throwing George Lucas out of it, if he's not going to make these films, he's not going to direct them. Could that influence a bit? The way the story, because there's going to be the story no matter what. There's going to be that set story which he could be part of, and then there's going to be a way that the director's actually going to spin it or make it kind of just the way he's going to tell the story. And that's the main job there. So how he's going to convey it to the audience, and that's going to be.
I think that the director influences how the movie is made and what certain things. I think the director makes tweaks, but he doesn't change the story. He can change the feeling. He can change the feelings in the movie. But again, the story was all held there. George Lucas had these stories, and that's what everybody went on.
The question will be, what makes a good film? Is it the story, or is it how it makes you feel, how you interpret it, or how much you enjoy it? Or a combination of all the things.
It's definitely a combination of a bunch of things. One of the questions I had for this that I would ask to you is what would make you, because as Star Wars fans we have to see this movie. We have to see it.
Oh my God, yes we do.
Even if it's bad, even if it looks bad, or even if it looks great, of course we'll see it.
Yes.
But as Star Wars fans we have to see it. But I wanted to ask you what. If they release details today, what'll get you excited about it? Because right now I'm apprehensive about it. I'm not excited about this. What would get you excited if they said, I don't know, all the original cast was back? So stuff along that line. What can they announce to you that'll guarantee you'll want to see this rather than trudgingly have to see it?
Here's the thing. We're going to save that because I have to do a commercial break. Okay?
Okay.
Keep that question in your mind, and I'll think about it. But for the moment, we're going to do our commercial break because it is just about 2:30. And we gotta leave soon. Let me get to it. But I don't remember your question now.
I'll bring it back up.
I'll play one song, commercial break, then we'll come back. This song, my brother has basically influenced what I like today about music.
Your brother, 27.
My brother, 27. Influenced basically everything I like about music. When I first started listening to CDs, he gave me the first CD that I ever had for my CD player, my first ever CD player.
CD players.
Yeah, those are the days. And basically, just all his bands that he listened to in his room or something, or he'd play on TV or something, they kind of influenced what I like today. One of my favorite bands of my entire life is Blink-182, and that's a band that he basically showed me. So this next song is Wendy Clear by Blink-182, a band that I love only because of my brother. There we go. That was our commercial break. Sorry, Tex. Welcome back, Matt and Tex Show. Tex asked me a question right before we went to commercial break about Star Wars. Question, what was it, Tex?
All right. So right now we're apprehensive about... Well, I am. Are you?
Oh, of course I am.
Okay. But again, we'll have to see it. But assuming we weren't fans and we weren't already inclined to see it, what could they announce that would make us excited and really looking forward to this movie? What could they announce for you?
Oh God, that's a good. Well, there's a lot of hidden things. Like what happens to Yoda in those years, right?
So they would just say something like, "Find out what happened to everybody in the thing."
Not to everyone. I don't care about everyone else.
Maybe, no.
Maybe Chewbacca, maybe Yoda.
This is a promotion for like everybody.
Actually, wait, no. I'm sorry. I was like in between 3 and 4. That's Yoda's a lot. After 6, Yoda's dead.
Yeah, that's right.
So then there's no reason to know what happens to Yoda.
I didn't even think about that.
So if it follows that same timeline where number 1 is early, number 6 is late, and then 7 and 8 will be later in the future, that's it.
That just gave me an interesting idea.
Okay.
What if these are would this be good if these were more prequels? Because
So even before 1, 2, and 3.
yes.
That's a good. Well, that's
I
a
think
good
that
question.
would be a better direction to go in than after, because everyone's like, "What?"
Yeah, because before 1, 2, and 3, we had the Strong Republic, right?
Mhm.
We had the Jedi Council was at full force.
Mm-hmm.
All these Jedi's and Yoda and stuff.
So
So that would be interesting.
we have a general idea of what happens before, but since George Lucas and Disney have stated that they're going to scrap everything that happens, we have no idea what would happen in
That's
the future.
true. That's a good answer.
So going back would make me feel better
It
about
would
it.
have, yeah, because we already have a sort of hint, like we know, the Jedi Council was
Mhm.
running for 900 years or whatever, forever.
Collapse of the Sith, maybe that's
There-
thousands of years back.
We have some ideas of Darth Sidious and stuff like that beforehand, and so
Or all those things a part of the expanded universe again. Maybe they'll scrap that too. I don't know.
I think that'd be better to go.
Mhm.
I never really thought about that, but because we have an idea of what happened before, we have no idea what happens in the future. Just basically just life. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We know what happened in the past, sort of. So I think if 7, 8, 9 would be in the past, I think it'd be a little bit better. They would have to introduce new characters, but you'd have some new. If they went only so far back, you can see Qui-Gon Jinn again.
Mhm.
You can still see Yoda, Mace Windu, all the main Jedi councils that you saw in episode 1, 2, and 3. And see what happens, or what sort of built to what happened to 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6.
I think that would be an excellent way going back to connect to everybody instead of making everybody say, "Oh, this is what happens afterward." Because people will say when something happens in one of the movies, they'll be like, "This is why that happens in episode whatever."
I think that was the brilliance of making Star Wars 4, 5, and 6 first, and then going back, right, to fill in those spaces that were built up before.
Despite the quality of the movies,
right,
it filled in information.
And I think with 7, 8, 9, you can maybe get more action out of it. That isn't so far fetched.
Mm-hmm.
With 7, 8, 9, after 4, 5, and 6 in the timeline, you'd have to create a whole different sort of realm of what would be happening, because there is no Empire really anymore. There's no Jedi's to fight anything. There's just there's a couple Jedi's. Han Solo has a pistol, and that's very boring. We've seen that all the time. So if you go back, if you want more Jedi action, you definitely have to go before.
I think because Disney has announced, and I don't know exactly what they meant by this. They did give timelines for the first, second, and third one they're going to release, but they also said they wanted to make some every 2 to 3 years, right? And so, assuming that means more than the 3 episodes initially,
I didn't think it meant that. I thought it meant 2015 we'll have episode 7. 2 years from then we'll have episode 8. 2 years from then we'll have episode 9. I thought that's what they meant. But if they mean that they're going to do episode 7 in 2015, they're going to have another film in 2 years after that. They'll work on episode 8 to have a. I don't know what they mean.
So you're thinking they're only doing these 3? Because I took it to mean they're doing these 3, we have a timeline, and then after that, 2 to 3 years, we'll have one. Because
I don't know.
Assuming they meant that, I think that would be an excellent way to go. Going back, you'll reconnect with all the old Star Wars fans, and then we'll say, Disney can do this. Assuming they're good, Disney can do this. Now let's see where they can take it.
Yep.
I think that would be an excellent direction to take, and of course they're going to have George Lucas there to consult.
So we got a lot of questions to ask, or we've asked a lot of questions. No answers. We have no answers from really anything. We're all speculating. We'll basically find out in the next coming years, hopefully in 2 or 3 years, when episode, maybe 2 years when we start seeing trailers or something, right? We'll see what happens to episode 7 and where Disney's going to take it. But at this point, it is the end of our show. 2:45, I got a class to go to. It's been fun. We didn't get to talk about our most hated video games of all time. We'll talk about that next week. We'll talk about my birthday, maybe, if it's probably not that exciting. But thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/MattandTex.
Or twitter.com/MattandTex.
And we post a bunch of crap. And blogs if you write them, or not, maybe not. But we'll see you next week. We'll be here Tuesday, again at 2 p.m.
Wednesday.
Yep, good call. I was testing you. There we go, Tex. You're on edge. Okay, yeah, Wednesday at 2 p.m. We'll see you. And make sure you vote, because we won't talk to you until November 7th, right? So voting's on November 6th. Just vote.
Just do it.
Just do it.
On a whim.
I don't
Just go in there filling bubbles.
Yeah, put on like blurry glasses so you don't know what you're checking, right? Anyways, this next song is another band that my brother has introduced to me just many, many years ago, and that I love now. Dave Matthews. Tex doesn't like him, but he doesn't really even listen to Dave Matthews, so he doesn't know.
No,
this song is called Smooth Rider. We'll see you next week.